Welcome to New Zealand. Thanks for joining me. My name is Paul Smith. G'day. How you going? This is my YouTube channel. Please, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I'd appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button below and click the bell, and you'll get notifications of my latest and greatest videos when they're out and available. The main thing I want to discuss today, I guess, is about the whole thing about manipulation, post-processing, what you do to your images after you've taken the picture in camera. It's a topic that I get asked a lot about. I get, it's a topic that seems to kind of fuel for debate. There seems to be different points of view on what you should and what you shouldn't do. So I just want to kind of touch on that today and just kind of give you my feelings on it, what I believe is right and what is wrong. My last video was about just my workflow in Lightroom and how I kind of do things, I guess, an overview. And it kind of, there was a few kind of, not so much negative comments, but just kind of people that were not 100% supportive of what I was doing, I guess. So what I thought I'd do today is just kind of discuss those comments and just sort of kind of give my point of view on it. So let's get into it. Let's get into the comments and just my response, I guess. And the first comment was from a guy called Ted Small, Little Ted. Ted says, I don't see the point of using an expensive brand film camera to then make manipulated digital images. Ted's talking about the camera that I was using in my previous video, which is the Leica M9, which is not a film camera, it's a digital camera. Nevertheless, how come the images need retouching so much if it's an expensive camera? Ted, I'm not too sure about your background in photography, how deep your knowledge is, if you're a beginner, an intermediate, or an expert in photography. So I'm not too sure, but the relationship between the expense of a camera and how much retouching you need to do is really inconsequential. I shoot RAW all the time, 100% of the time. I never shoot JPEG. So I'm working with RAW files out of my camera, and if you're familiar with the RAW file format, you'll understand that a RAW file has a lot of information in it. A RAW file generally is very flat, it's very untouched. For me, it's more about the quality of that RAW file, and just talking about Leica cameras as an example, I have a few of them sitting behind me here in the M9, which is a camera that I haven't used a lot, but I'm starting to fall in love with that camera, and I've been shooting it a bit lately, and I've just kind of been, the quality of the files that I'm getting off that, the quality of the colors from that camera, the quality of the information that's in those files is quite outstanding. Please understand that to get that quality and to manipulate it, if you like, and to tweak it to your taste, you need to do some editing to get the best out of those files. What I do with that file is up to me. Let's remember that I can manipulate that image, that file, as much as you want, but I've always got the original file. I've always got the original. So I can go back and I can retreat it however I like. There's always, that opportunity there for me, and a lot of the time I will do that. And I think the image that I worked on last week in last week's video is a good example of that. That was my first attempt at that image. I just wanted to kind of show you some techniques that I use. To me, the most important thing about photography, and I've said this before, is the effect that the final picture has on the viewer. The effect that it has on their emotions, what they, how they feel when they look at that picture. And as long as the photographer himself or herself has been in control of the process to get that picture to that point, then I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with anything in photography, no matter how much manipulation or how little. I think it's inconsequential. The final picture is king, and the effect that has on the viewer is important. How you get there is kind of doesn't really matter, as long as you're not deceiving. I think, deceiving and manipulation or processing, whatever you want to call it, as long as you're not deceiving people, I think that's important. I think anything else goes. Mark the Photo Man G'day Mark, how are you? Is it your real name? I'm not too sure, but hello Mark. Sadly, once you edit the original, there is so much that just becomes digital art and is no longer a photo of what you have captured. A photographer waits for the light to be right so they can capture the moment. Many landscape photographers like Ben Horn will wait for hours, if not days, to get the right light and take that one shot. You should check out his channel. Nothing wrong with this type of editing, but it's not really photography anymore. I just have a real problem with people like Mark, and I appreciate your comment, Mark, but I have a problem with the way that you think to make a statement that you think because of what I do, because it doesn't fall into line with what you think is photography, you're kind of basically telling me that what I do is not photography. I think is really kind of ignorant. You know, for me, I'm not into kind of sitting on a hill somewhere for an hour or two or even a day or two just to get one picture. That's not what I do. If what I do is not photography, I'm cool with that, because whatever it is I enjoy. And if you don't think it's photography, then I'm fine with that. I might not agree with what you kind of perceive as photography. I don't know, there's these different groups out there that kind of seem to think that because people aren't doing it the way that they feel it should be done, that it's not valid. And I kind of think that's sad, because I think to myself, what's the reason for this? And I've kind of come to the conclusion, for instance, you know, the people that have something against processing your images in Lightroom as an example, typical of the people that make these kinds of comments is that they don't have the knowledge themselves, so they don't want to learn, that they don't have the time, they have the fear of learning new stuff. They don't want to move forward. They think, you know, they have this fear of change. They have this fear, or maybe it's just laziness. Maybe it's laziness that they don't have the time or want to spend the time to learn a new skill, and then they kind of feel it's okay to kind of comment negatively about somebody else that does that. I don't really have the right to kind of tell somebody else that what they're doing is wrong. Like, you know, Mark has just said that what I'm doing is not photography. For me, photography is all different things. It's video. It's, you know, for me, you look at what I do on my channel. You know, I produce content. I produce videos. I use music. I use my videos to kind of enhance my photography, to tell stories behind my photography. I use music to kind of enhance emotion in my photography. And I combine all three things together to kind of create what I still believe is photography. And in the process of doing that, I'm using digital tools. I was watching Platon this morning, and Platon, who's the great portrait photographer, shoots film. I mean, they're enhancing his work. He's enhancing his work digitally. He's scanning his work, and he's getting results. And to me, it's cool, but it's just a progression of photography. Just because he's not printing in the darkroom, who cares? He's moved on. Sometimes I think people need to move on. I have no issues with people who want to print in the darkroom. I want to print in the darkroom. I don't have the time at the moment. I don't have the facility to do so. But I want to do that. I want to gain that skill, and I will gain that skill. I love film photography. I am a film photographer. I am a digital photographer. I enjoy both mediums. I love both mediums. I mean, I'm not proficient at all aspects of digital photography. I'm not proficient at all aspects of film photography. But I'm still a photographer, and I enjoy my work. I enjoy doing what I do. I love going for a stroll in the morning, taking half a dozen pictures, coming back, grabbing coffee, sitting in front of my computer, and just editing my images. I enjoy that. It gives me a lot of satisfaction, which is the most important thing. It gives me satisfaction, makes me feel good. And that's what photography is about. What we're going to do now is just have a look at some images. And the cool thing about these images for some of those people out there watching is that none of these pictures have had any editing done on them. They're just kind of out of camera. I tell a little bit of a kind of lie here. I've just done a little tiny bit of tweaking, in the sense that just up the contrast and maybe up the exposure, and just played with the saturation on a couple of these, but only because they're very flat images anyway. But pretty much everything you're about to see is pretty much straight out of camera, and I wouldn't have spent more than about 5 seconds doing anything on any of these pictures. So check these out. This is a photography channel after all, and it's about looking at pictures, and admiring photography. So here's a few pictures, a few pure images. Enjoy it. I'll be back in a second just to wrap up. Hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, those pictures were pretty much just out of camera. So thanks for your comments this week. I just want to kind of just say thanks to everybody who has commented, whether it kind of been negative comments or whatever. I really appreciate it, because I think the cool thing about when you actually make a comment on what I do on a video, it just starts me thinking. And this week it has made me think about what I do in post-production, what I do to manipulate my images. Am I overdoing it at times? I don't know that I am. I do kind of do, sometimes I'll do very little post, sometimes I'll do a bit more than very little, sometimes I'll do a bit more post. That's just the way I am. I just like to kind of I don't like to stay stuck in one kind of mode. I like to shoot film and keep it pretty simple and keep it very clean. But I also like to shoot digital and just kind of make the most of what I'm doing with that digital file, I guess. And I think that's a cool thing about, digital photography. It's getting the most out of the information that you've got, getting the most out of the information that's in that file. And you really, it's got to be there in the first place. It's got to be there, because if it isn't there, you can't put it in. And I don't think I've done anything in my image from last week that wasn't kind of already there. I've just kind of tried to enhance it. You may agree or may not, I don't know. But, at the end of the day, you're only working with what you captured in the first place anyway, and I think that's important. Funny thing was that when I was editing that images last week, my wife looked over my shoulder and she said, I actually like it the way it was originally. And I said, yeah, you're probably right. I did too. But, hence, hey, it's all fun. Apart from anything else, let's just remember that what photography is there for. It's for enjoyment. Sometimes we take it too seriously. Sometimes we get kind of, raveled up in all the little technical things and what we should and what we shouldn't do. And, all of the human stuff, all of the bickering and stuff that usually comes from the human race. But at the end of the day, it's photography and it's there to be enjoyed, and I enjoy it. So whatever I do, I enjoy. And I hope you're the same. On a slightly different note, a couple of weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I asked people, if they want to support the channel, one of the ways they can do that is to send me some film, send me some film out. And Alan Marr, thank you, Alan. Alan Marr, listen, the package finally arrived this week, Alan. Alan sent me some film, I think about 5 or 6 weeks ago from Australia. It's taken that long to get it to this part of the world. The whole COVID-19 thing getting stuff in and out of New Zealand has been almost impossible. Thank you, Alan, for sending me this film. Alan has sent me not just a few rolls of film, he sent me a ton of film here. I've got Tri-X, I've got my favourite film, Acros. He sent me some stuff I've never used before, some Cat Labs X-Film 8120s. I've got this really cool, some really cool kind of cinematic type film, I think it is, Fuji 4511. There's lots of goodies in here. Alan has also sent me a copy of his zine. And I just want to say thanks, Alan. I mean, I'll put some pictures up on the screen now of Alan's work. Awesome. Thanks so much. It's never never fails to surprise me how giving people are around the world. There's so many good people. What can I say? It's just awesome. It's cool. I'm going to have a lot of fun playing around with that stuff and using it on my channel in the coming months and probably years. I'm going to put a link for Alan's Instagram feed. He's also known as the Film Sweats on Instagram. Alan has been a follower of mine for quite some time. He's very supportive of my channel. I really appreciate your support, Alan. You've supported me for a while now and correspond with me on Instagram. Thanks, man. Thanks, mate. And finally got here. I just want to say thank you. That's amazing. Like I said, I'll put a link to Alan's Instagram below, and if he's got a website, I'll put that down. Check his work out, please. I'd really appreciate it. Go follow him on Instagram and support him. Before I go, if you'd like to support my channel, you can do so by buying my print pack, my limited edition print pack, which is available from my website. I'll put a link up here for that. My limited edition print pack is from my book Stolen Moments, which is now sold out. The pack includes 5 prints, which is all individually signed and it's numbered. I've got, I think, less than 10 copies left. I think I've almost sold out of the run of that. I will not be doing any more prints, hence the reason why it's a limited edition. It's available from the website. Like I said, the link up here. Go and check that out if you want to. If you don't want to buy the prints, I also have an ebook called Emscapes, which is a book about my digital photography from my Leica cameras. It's about my Leica photography, I guess, my Leica digital photography. Also available from my website. There's a link up there. I will, however, warn you that the images in that book have been manipulated. Please go and check out my Instagram feed. Please go and follow me on Instagram. I'd really appreciate it. I'll put a link below for my Instagram feed. Please like and share this video. Subscribe if you haven't done. I'd appreciate it. That's it for this episode. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back again soon. I've got heaps of film to shoot. Thank you, Alan. I'll see everybody soon. Haere rā from New Zealand. Goodbye and thank you.